Valve, you talented son of a bee. Guys, this summer I went through a bit of a gaming drought and it got to a dark place. And what I mean by that is, I started playing League of Legends again. Hello, darkness, my old friend. But thank God, literally, because I think God saw me playing League and was like, this is gonna corrupt his soul. He needs a new game. So he contacted Valve and was like, do you guys got a new game he can play? I don't care if it's ready. It's in alpha, sure. And that's what we got with Deadlock.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Got him. I love Valve in their mysterious ways. They scared me as a child with their weird Valve head intros. They confused me with what the hell an orange box is. They've opened my eyes to what modding can be, turning something like Counter-Strike into one of the best zombie Outlast games, and then making some of the best real zombie games. And I think they've all left us wondering, with such successful IPs, why can't they make a third game? And I'm not talking about a specific game here. I'm just saying, why can't they make a third game? I mean, Left 4 Dead 2, Portal 2, Team Fortress 2, Dota 2, Counter-Strike 2, even though it's like Counter-Strike 4 at this point. And then of course, the infamous Half-Life 2. I know that there's Half-Life Alyx and it's awesome, but it's VR and they didn't put the number 3 on it, so it doesn't count. I think all of these games have an audience that would froth at the mouth at the announcement of a third game. And this is kind of a side tangent, but I think Valve is in a really unique position in the way they announce a third game. And I think it'd be really cool if they didn't do it with just one game, because, you know, 3. Imagine in a couple of years at like a Summer Games Fest, Gabe Newell comes out and just says, hey everybody, thanks for loving our games. We got something to show you. He leaves, the lights go down, that Valve baseline kicks in, and then a Half-Life 3 logo just fades in on screen. Everybody loses their minds, let that sit for a solid 30 seconds, and then right after, boom, put a Team Fortress 3 logo on the left, and bam, a Left 4 Dead 3 logo on the right. Just blast us with 3 massive announcements. You don't even have to give a release date, just tell us that you are eventually going to make them. That moment will last in gaming forever. People would pass out from so much excitement. Somebody might even die, but I'm willing to take that risk for such a hype announcement. Now, as much as I want a Team Fortress 3, that's not what we got here with Deadlock. If I call it Deadlocked at any point, that's just a slip from me playing Ratchet & Clank Deadlocked so much with my brothers growing up. So this game is a 6v6 MOBA third-person shooter. So it's kind of like League of Legends where you play as a champion with abilities, go down lanes, killing minions to collect gold, called souls in this game, that allows you to upgrade your character while fighting other players to take down their towers that eventually lead into their base, where you kill their Nexus, the patron, to win the game. While we're on the topic, I got a Patreon. There have been studios that have tried to make this type of game before, the third-person MOBA. I'm looking at you, Smite, but no offense, I've never met anyone that plays Smite. And I've heard their second game is off to a rocky start, whereas Deadlock is in early alpha, and me and my friends can't stop playing it. I should mention that. It is in closed alpha right now, but if you really want to play the game, there's hope. A bunch of people have gotten invite codes, and now Valve has let anybody with an invite code invite their friends. So the population's actually getting pretty big. So ask around, find a subreddit, make friends in the comments down below, talk to people, and hopefully you can get access to the game because trust me, it is such a blast. I think the biggest thing that drew me into this game, besides it being made by old reliable Valve, is the characters and the setting. Everything just feels so fresh. I mean, just by the first frame that I saw of somebody playing this game, which they were playing in Furnace, I saw the character, I was like, yep, I want to play that game. There is just some fantastic character design happening here. And they've already got 22 characters out. I will say, a lot of women. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. God, could you imagine after the last video? Whew. No, but every character looks interesting. I don't know their writing yet. I don't know their story. I don't know their lore. I know I can't wait to play as them. The setting is like this bizarro version of 1940s New York where everything just has like a tinge of witchcraft. You have high-class Lady Geist with a cursed arm. Pocket has a briefcase full of ghosts. Abrams is a demon detective. This dude's just a ball of slime. And Dynamo is a robot with a bow tie. Everything's just kind of wacky, and they all play extremely differently. There's not necessarily like roles in the game yet, like a traditional tank, DPS, and support, but some characters have like base attributes that kind of tilt them in the direction. Like Abrams is definitely more of a tanky character. Like he regenerates health like a madman. To an insane degree. I would recommend nerfing that just a little bit. But even Abrams as a tank doesn't mean you have to build him that way. There's 3 categories of items in the game. You have weapon, which amplifies your gun, if you could figure that out. You have spirit items that scale your ability power, and vitality items, which basically boost your health and stamina. So take the ball of goo, Viscous. I've built him a bunch of different ways. I started with a gun build because he's actually got a really good fast shooting gun, and it works. You can slow people down with your abilities and just absolutely mow people down. But then I try to build based around spirit, amplifying all of his abilities, and man, he can just nuke people and annoy the crap out of people, rolling around as a trolley-ass ball.
Right side? Yeah, come on, right side.
I'd hide if I were you. I interrupted them.
Let's get her again. Oh my gosh, that was so trolly.
You just messed her up, dude.
And I'm sure that there's a really good hybrid in there, but I personally, as much as I hate myself for it, am a ball man.
I'm going ball. I'm going ball. Nice, nice. I'm gonna smack her in this ball. Nice.
Oh, nice, smack her.
Keep on smacking her.
Oh, I don't know. Oh my god.
It's just so fun to find a character and just dive deep into them, learning their abilities, their tech. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Incogni. I don't know what the deal is lately, but over the past couple of years, the amount of spam calls and texts that I get is just getting ridiculous. I get texts about packages that are like awaiting my delivery. They just need some more information from this random jumbled set of characters .com/this is a virus. Recruiters reach out that said I like interviewed for a job. It's like, I'm not interviewing. I got the best job in the world, baby. Somehow these people are just getting our information. And I'm personally really nervous with how good AI getting with like voice duplication. Eventually some of these attempts might break through. There's got to be a way to remove some of our information out there on the internet, and that's where Incogni comes in. Incogni ensures that your personal information stays off of data broker and people search websites. Whether you like it or not, a lot of the companies that you interact with are taking your information and selling it to these giant firms called data brokers that then sell it to advertisers. And through this process, you wouldn't believe how much of your private data is just out there waiting for some of these cockroaches to get their grubby little mitts on it. This includes things like your home address and your phone number. In just a few minutes of signing up, Incogni showed that over 150 data brokers had my information. But here's the thing, these data brokers have to get rid of your information off of their database when you ask them to. Unfortunately, of course, it'd be a ton of work to reach out to all over 150 of these data brokers, and I'm sure it's a bureaucratic process. And that's where Incogni steps in and takes care of that for you. They'll reach out to all of these brokers for you and get your information requested off of their database, and you'll be alerted once it's removed. I highly recommend giving Incogni a try and getting your privacy back. Make sure to use my code at checkout and click the link in the description to get 60% off your first annual plan. Thanks so much to Incogni for supporting my channel. Now, back to the video. When the game starts, you and your teammates zipline down your lanes like BioShock Infinite, and you also have this boost that can accelerate your speed down lane, which I so much appreciate coming from a game like League, where I just have to walk slowly to my lane every single time I die. This just gets you right back in the game quick. The game usually starts off pretty slow with a strong emphasis on last hitting minions to acquire souls. This is kind of confusing, but souls level you up and are also your currency, but they're spent separately. Another sidebar, I really love how the minions look in this game. They're like this little squad of soldier candles, and as their health diminishes, so does their wax level. Just another brilliant design by Valve. Every time you last hit a minion, you get half the amount of souls, and the other half is sent into a soul ball that floats above them for a brief moment. Now you can just let it go and it'll pop on its own and you'll get those souls, or you can shoot it to confirm it, or your enemy can shoot it and steal those souls, denying you those souls. Also, if you don't last hit your minions, you don't get any souls.
You gotta pay the troll toll if you want to get into that boy's hole.
When I'm playing, my brain is like split into 3 sections, making sure to last hit minions, making sure the enemy isn't stealing my souls, and also trying to deny my enemy their souls. You also get souls for certain objective points, like taking down the first guardian or taking down the second tower, the walker. And there's a few other ways of effectively getting souls, like the urn or jungling, but I don't think that's super important for this video. I mean, it took me like 40 hours of gameplay to even understand how unclaimed souls work. Like, it's a lot, and this game is a lot, and it will probably come off as overwhelming to a lot of new players. I mean, just look at the store. And the game is a work in progress, so I'm sure they're going to continue to build out a lot of features for us, especially in the UI department. I think right now that needs a lot of help for new players. Like, I feel like nothing really pops up when the 10-minute mark is hit, and at that point the game changes pretty drastically, but it's all behind the scenes. There needs to be like words that come up explaining what's just happening. However, there is a really cool feature for new players. Like I said, the store can come off as pretty overwhelming, but freaking smart Valve added this feature to browse builds made by other players, so you cut out the middleman of researching. In other MOBAs, I've had to open up another browser on like MobaFire or something like that and have something up guiding me on my second monitor while I'm playing. Valve, in their beautifully practical ways, were just like, yeah, we just put it in our game. Boom, problem solved. Once you start using these builds, you'll start to see a lot of the same items keep showing up, and it'll get you much more comfortable with what you're trying to build. And eventually, you'll start to be able to experiment and branch off on your own and make your own builds. And what I love is the popular builds aren't like a one-size-fits-all, it's the best in the game. I've made my own builds, and they've been super effective. Like, I was making a Warden build the other day because I really like his gun and I feel like it's really powerful, but I ran into a problem where he has got a small amount of ammo, so I was like, boom, let me put on active reload, solve the problem, and started just chasing people down, shooting them to death. I gotta be careful with what I'm saying around here. There is a lot of active items in this game, which I'm usually not a fan of. I'm a classic meat and potatoes 1, 2, 3, 4 ability user. But usually the problem with active items is that they have like an extremely long cooldown and a weird key binding, and you just completely forget about them and they just stay in your inventory and aren't even used. In Deadlock, you still have to key bind them, but their cooldowns are super short and their usefulness is massive. Like Warp Stone being able to teleport forward with bullet resistance, Fleet Foot increasing your ammo, your speed, and being able to shoot while firing at the same speed. You got Majestic Leap that can like send you across an entire lane. And once you get into the 6200 active items, you're getting into some bad manners territory. Like Curse, dude, if nobody's gotten Curse yet, you keep that holster, okay? That is not a gentleman's item. Oh, also, E isn't used for like any keybind in the game, so one of my active items is just E, and then I use both my mouse buttons in a V, but I never get 4 active items, and if you do that, you're sweating too hard, dude. What are you, like, Faker? There's also something that I see a lot of people miss, which is like these kind of like hidden modifiers. Like if you get the extra health item in Vitality, that's actually increasing your gun damage and your melee damage. So it's kind of a big thing to know, especially if you're playing a character like Abrams. All of these items and leveling up your abilities a certain way adds so much complexity and depth to each character that you can spend hours and hours just playing and learning one character. You can play him infinitely, I don't know, it's your game.
And to give you a head start on finding your new main, I'm gonna give a brief description of every character in Deadlock that's out right now.
First off, we have Abrams. This is actually the character that drew me into Deadlock the most, and he was the first character that I got really into. He's a big, beefy tank detective that's self-regenerating health like crazy. He's all about charging into his enemies and smashing them with his melee attack. He feels extremely powerful, but if you get parried, man, is it the most unsatisfying thing in the world. Next, we have Bebop, which is basically Blitzcrank from League of Legends, just a little bit junkier. He can grab people with his claw, and his ultimate turns them into a giant floating laser.
Nice.
Next, we have Dynamo, whose kit really revolves around being a support, although you can build in different ways. I constantly forget his name and call him Big Fat Lightbulb Head often. He has an incredibly useful ultimate, but it has an extremely long cooldown, even with superior cooldown, but it can turn the tide in a team fight. Next, we have Great Talent, small but powerful archer with a bird bomb. That's kind of it. Haze is your classic stealth assassin that can go invisible. She has an incredibly high rate of fire, and she also has a throwing knife that can put characters to sleep. When I started making this video, I thought she was really OP, but she gets updated constantly. She's either super OP or borderline useless. I don't really know where she stands right now, but she's pretty easy to use and definitely fun to play with, if you're not getting destroyed. Next, we have Infernus. This guy's a real hottie. Am I right? Sorry. Absolutely love his design here. He shoots bullets out of his finger gun. He's got a really fun kit. He can move incredibly fast. He can stun people with his ultimate. And most of his builds revolve around dots, damage over time effects, setting his enemies completely ablaze. Next, we have Ivy. Surprisingly, one of my favorite characters. I mean, look at this ugly little gargoyle.
Yeah, have you ever heard of those? They're parents. We have parents that love us. You don't because you're a little orphan.
I love the design of her weapon, kind of this dual mag MP34 thing. She's got an incredibly powerful bomb. She can fly her enemies across the map. And building up her gun is actually extremely effective, and you can just mow people down. Next, we have Kelvin, the yang to the yin of Infernus. He's your classic Ice King, slowing enemies down with a laser beam. He's got a surprisingly powerful gun, and he can fly across the sky like Frozone, laying down an ice path. His ult is also one of my favorites to use that heals allies and traps enemies inside. Next, we have Lady Geist. Absolutely love her character design. She's all about lifesteal. She sucks. Her snub-nosed revolver can hit like a train. As Lady Geist, you gotta live on the edge. She's always got me edging, especially with her ult. That kind of makes you want to live at low health because her ultimate switches the health with you and your enemy, potentially doing the most damage in the game with one ability. Next, we have Lash. I hate him, I don't play him, you figure him out. Next, we have McGinnis, your classic engineer character. She sets up turrets, she has a heal, she can cut off your team with a huge wall that also does damage, and her ultimate is a powerful missile barrage with a 40-second cooldown. You let me know if that sounds overpowered. Oh, I forgot to mention her base gun is a minigun. Please nerf her turret damage, and at least take away the turrets whenever she dies. It's just ridiculous, man. Mirage, Tornado. Next, we have Mo and Krill. Again, another one of my bizarrely favorite characters. I don't love the look of them, but they play a lot like a character I play in League of Legends a lot, which is Warwick. They feel pretty tanky while also dishing out a ton of damage. Even though their barrage looks like a crazy dancing mole rat thing, I can get over it because he's a lot of fun. Next, we have Paradox, and as a champion, she also is a Paradox. Is that even a joke? I don't know. She's a really weird champ, but I love her design. She's all about pairing her time-based moves with good positioning. She's a tricky character. I rarely see her pop off, but I've seen her be extremely useful in plenty of situations. Next, we have Pocket, who is currently my favorite character in the game because I'm a douche. He's currently the escape artist king in Deadlock. He's very slippery, he's got a lot of ability tech, and he got me more comfortable with Deadlock's tech in general, with like air dashes and slides and dash jumping. He can do really interesting plays like sending out his teleport early and jumping into a suitcase, distracting enemies while you teleport as soon as you get out of that briefcase to where your cloak is, escaping entirely. I love his mobility, I love his shotgun, I love his hair. Next, we have Seven. When he was first released, he seemed really powerful, especially with his ultimate, but they seem to nerf that, and more experienced most players know how to get out of it like immediately, so I more often see him built around his balls, his spirit balls of electricity. He's kind of like Haze though. Man, do I see Sevens feed like crazy, and man, do I see Sevens pop off like crazy. It's one or the other. Next we have Shiv. He's an overpowered monkey guy. This is Future Jack talking. He just got a massive nerf recently, so I actually have been able to kill him lately. But total transparency, I haven't been able to pop off him even when he was overpowered, and I don't completely understand him yet, so you go figure him out and see if you can do well with him. But good luck nowadays. Vindicta, Sniper, Viscous, big ball of slime. I actually freaking love Viscous lately. He's becoming like my second favorite character. His abilities are surprisingly powerful. Like I said earlier, he's got a powerful gun. And I used to hate controlling his ball, but lately I've been getting better at it, and it can stun people like crazy and completely turn the tide of the battle as well. Warden, a policeman that chases down enemies with his like personal hand cannon. I don't know what this gun is it like half a Gatling gun? Whatever it is, it's awesome and it's powerful. His ult is a little difficult to time, but once you get it running, man, it's hard to get it stopped. Then we have Wraith, Lover Look, Lover Jacket, so creative. Crazy fire rate, throws cards like Gambit, does insane damage, and her ult basically grants her free kills, which is very annoying to play against, but I really like her champion design overall, and I gotta give credit where credit's due. And last but not least, we have Yamato. I don't know who made it, like did Tim Burton take a crack at making a samurai? In all seriousness, I love all these characters. Even Lash, they all just feel so fresh. And I found something really interesting in my research, which is Deadlock was not always Deadlock. It was actually called Neon Prime for a while, and it was set in a futuristic cyberpunk world. And at some point, Valve made the decision to pivot completely and switch it to this more urban style, olden time vibe, which I think was a genius move. I read a funny comment somewhere that said the Neon Prime armor looks like it was pulled straight out of Spy Kids, and now I can't unsee it.
And you are? I'm the guy.
I really love to know the behind the scenes of how they came to that decision to switch it completely, because that must have been painful for a lot of art to go to waste. From a standing out perspective, I totally get it though. I mean, like, futuristic cyberpunk themes in games are like a dime a dozen nowadays. It doesn't really make your game stand out no matter how hyper saturated it can get. Like, look at Supervive, that game that's just attacking your eyeballs with their color palette. I feel like this old necromancy New York is just something I haven't seen before. And I think most people would agree it was the right choice. As an aspiring game developer, it's really cool to see such a big company like Valve show off their game in early alpha. This game is constantly getting updates, getting more updates than my smart TV, and they're usually really small, and I'd much rather take this than like total abandonment of your game. Overwatch 1. It's really cool, especially as an artist, to see the rough edges in a game that works, even with Wraith's hair stretching every time she jumps, or the fact that Kelvin and Viscous have the same gun model, or like Moe and Krill, whichever one Moe is, the mole rat guy. His fur looks like a shade smooth texture in Blender. It proves in my mind that, oh yeah, that doesn't really matter as long as your game is fun and enjoyable. It's actually really funny to see Yamato specifically, because there's a reason why she looks like she really doesn't belong, and that's because she was pulled directly from Neon Prime. And honestly, this game's goofy, so she kind of works in the game. And if you had this character fully fledged out with all of her abilities, it's like, might as well add her. It doesn't break anything. That being said, I do hope her look is updated at some point. I get it, there's like demons and like monkey people. God, that sounds so racist. There's weird stuff in the game, but Yamato's slender build corpse bride look, I don't know if it works. I'm so excited to see what this game turns into. They only have one map right now, but maybe that's all they need. I mean, League only has Summoner's Rift, and they've been doing that for years now. But I'm interested to see like what updates they make to the map, like switching out all those jungle camps for something each unique to its location. I can't wait to see what characters that they add into the game. I actually came up with a few in case any Valve peeps are watching. Feel free to use any of these. The first one is Jaro, a debonair robot, monocle, top hat meets James Bond vibes. You know, tailcoat, tuxedo, with a silenced pistol, does poison damage, maybe amplifies the damage when he's hitting a character from the back. He's a backstabber in business, but also on the battlefield. The next character I have is Cole. He's a coal miner. See what I did there? I'm thinking suspenders, beards, got a big old pickaxe that also has a string across the pickaxe, making a crossbow. And I'm thinking his moves revolve around like coal mining dust, like being able to blind people. And maybe his ultimate is like smashing the pickaxe down, causing a bunch of rocks to spike up. The next one I have is Sign. This one's a bit of a weirder one, more of a Yamato situation. So I don't know how well it's gonna fit, but I'm thinking like a skeleton or some sort of undead priest with a staff or a club. And maybe they have like a mass heal that also silences enemies. Or maybe they can can just straight up resurrect allies. The next one is a guy I came up with called Ricketts. Let me know if you know what this is from in the comments. This one's something that Valve might be avoiding for like overdoneness, but I think with a necromancy vibe, I think it'd be really cool to see like a Western cowboy gunslinging necromancer. There's weirdly enough a Fortnite skin that I actually think of in my head when I'm talking about this, but maybe he's got like a bandana, he drinks like XXX alcohol that increases his damage and lifesteal, but it like slows his movement and it puts him into like an animated stagger state. I think it'd be kind of sick. And then he could have an ultimate that raises like 5 ghost gunslingers that all shoot exactly where he shoots. And the last one I just wrote Crab Chef Guy. Call him Mr. Krabs. I really don't know. I'm thinking like a butcher kind of humanoid guy with crab claws that can pin people down, but I don't really know if that's allowed. I mean, they got like monkeys in the game, whatever the hell Yamato is, I don't know. Hey, Future Jack stepping in here. Deadlock just got a massive update the other day. Their skybox is different, looks great in my opinion, and now they just added 6 new characters to the game. They're in an experimental phase right now, but what's crazy is like 3 out of the 4 ideas that I came up with are these characters. So it's very cool to see. It's cool to see that I basically know how to design video games. And the only thing I'm concerned about with this update though is the shading on the characters. They switched it up to make characters more visible wherever they are, even if they're in like shadows. But I gotta say, I don't like this higher contrast between things that look like a Breath of the Wild or like Genshin Impact art style. I think Valve should stick to what they had before, which looked a little bit more original, just like softer shadows. I don't think the cartooniness is the move. Oh, also, oh my gosh, please fix the bug when I'd go duos with my friend and you send me into the wrong lane with a random. This has happened at least over 15 times, and luckily people are willing to switch every time, but I find it interesting. It's like, this bug isn't happening because 2 lanes have 2 duos already. It's just the game messing up the placement. Who cares? I'm on a rant now. But I love seeing the progress. Keep it up. This game has reminded me of my immense love that I have for competitive video games. Ever since I beat my oldest brother in Super Smash Bros. Growing up, I've been hooked to being the best. Well, the best I can be. And Deadlock, I just can't get enough of. And you know what the most interesting thing is? They don't have any cosmetics right now. They don't have a battle pass. I'm sure they will, and I'm not against it. I'd actually be really interested to see what the Valve team can create for skins for these characters. But it is interesting that everybody that's playing Deadlock right now is just playing it for the love of the game. And that is also a really fresh feeling. When it comes to skins, I hope they don't charge absurd prices like Valorant or League of Legends. Didn't they like just release like a $500 skin or something like that? Oh, just be reasonable. Don't make them $40 a skin. It's a free-to-play game. I imagine they'll have some sort of monetization at the end of the day. But you done good, Valve. And you lit that fire inside my little gamer heart and got me excited about what video games can be. Even free-to-play games. There's innovative ideas out there just waiting to be discovered and freshness to be had. Valve, Deadlock is great, and creativity in gaming is very much still alive. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, like it. If you like me, subscribe. And thanks to my patrons for supporting me. I'll see you in the next one.